fantastic. G'day, campers, and how are you? And welcome to another Thursday night live around the campfire. I'm actually really glad to be here, to be honest, because I've had a pretty heavy couple of weeks, and I nearly wasn't tonight. I nearly took some time off, just because I'm working through a fair few things, and I'm lucky enough that Martyn and Luke agreed to join me today. Martyn and Luke are part of a project that I'm involved in. We're all involved in it together, called #RaiseAPen, where we sit down as men and open up conversation based around anything that's going on in life, and sit down, pen in hand, paper, we write notes and find ways to fix those things in life. Because what happened was we had two brothers from the Victorian Brotherhood commit suicide within 24 hours, and everybody was raising a glass to the guys. And myself and Vaughan Williams said, enough's enough. We've got to stop this. So we started the campaign, #RaiseAPen, where we actually sit down and, as I said before, write down our thoughts and then take action on the things we need to fix in life. But what's been happening inside these meetings, and both Luke and Martyn have been an amazing part of them, is we're finding out that there is a lot of generational trauma, and there's a lot of things that aren't dealt with. So tonight we're going to dive into that a little bit. And at the end of tonight, and I'm looking for about a 40-minute discussion here, I've got some questions I want to ask the campers, because I really want to open a few discussions. But I'd like to welcome you, Luke. Welcome to your first Thursday Night Live. So
yeah, awesome, yeah. A nice series of events that ended me up here too, which is cool. So,
well, that's exactly right. It's funny how life throws us opportunities when things go a bit sideways. Sometimes we grab a hold of the opportunities and run with them. So, thank you, mate. Thank you for joining us. So, and Martyn Jones, an inspirational life coach and someone I adore spending a lot of time with. Welcome, Martyn.
Thank you, Scott. Always a pleasure.
Brilliant. All right. So, Look, do you mind if we talk about your personal situation first? Just because I think it's a great way to start this conversation, because over the last month, I've just watched you just grow exponentially. And I know there's a lot of trauma inside your relationship with your father. Do you mind if we dive into that?
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
All right. So this is really personal. No, I'll start by getting into some questions. So, what's your father like? What's paint a picture without it going to, just paint a picture.
Well, all I can say, he's a man that runs from his problems. He's never faced any of them, and he's always just run and run and run. He's an alcoholic. He drinks about a bag of goon a day. Sometimes he'll smoke bongs for a little while and then he'll stop. But his main vice is alcohol, and it has been for him for about 30 years of his life, maybe more. I'd call him a bit of a narcissist, or narcissism, or whatever you want to call it. He's a sad man, I see that, and I also I feel sorry for him in some ways. But yeah, that's it. I don't know. Yeah, so I think that paints sort of a picture.
Yeah, well, there's things, and I'm not going to open up exactly what we'll see how we go. But all of his pain has been put onto you.
And also my mother as well. My mother, so we're sort of this is what we're talking about, generational trauma, for example, so my mum's dad was a heavy alcoholic, and to the point where he would abuse her all the time and stuff like that. And then she ended up with my father, and then received that same treatment from him. And I classify it as a sentence for her. She was trapped in prison in a way, but and in the long run, I ended up giving her another 10-year sentence. So, and to come to terms with that is hard, but I have come to terms with it, and
Yeah, and look, and that's one of the beautiful things. Like, you really have, and you're working really hard on not being your father.
Yeah, he's just abusive. Just for example, like he would. There was an incident when I was younger, like when I was at a very young age. I can't recollect it, but I've been told by my mother this story, and my father has confirmed it as well. For example, we had a friend around, and he wanted some milk for a coffee, and Mum said, "There's milk in the fridge," and he's like, "No, there fucking isn't," And so she walked up, and she goes, "Look, there's milk in the fridge," and he still didn't see it. So she just pushed him into the fridge, ended up splitting his whole back open, on the edge of those, metal things the bars used to have on the fridges in the old days. And and she just grabbed both of us and ran into the room, but
So, and thank you for sharing that. But I'm gonna open something up, and then feel free to go into it. I mean, this is what it's about tonight, and I really, really appreciate you being in, because I'm going to open up my part in a second too. So, with your behaviour in the last 10 odd years has basically been based upon exactly the same behaviour your father taught you.
It's hard to say, I think it goes even deeper than that. It goes on the way I was treated, why I was acting like that. So my mum has dealt with every person that way, so she doesn't end up getting too hurt, So, which is treated with love and kindness at the end of the day, to be honest. And always a fucking meal on the table so you don't get upset. All that sort of shit, like, you know what I mean? So, in a way, it was the trauma from that my mum would have to allow me to be able to behave like that, I think, in a way. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to share my story, and we'll come back to yours a little bit. Is that all right?
That's all good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So pretty much until I was 36, I was an alcoholic. I drank myself into oblivion all the time. And, I'd finish work, I'd have 5 or 6 pints at the pub, then drive home.
Gee.
That was the behaviour I learned from my father. And then and people who have seen the interview with my dad have heard his story that I didn't know anything about. He drank away his problems, which created a hell of a lot more, which then had all of his issues get poured on top of me. His issues were created by his stepfather and his father, who I'm sure their issues were created by their fathers and their fathers. And it's a continuation of all of that pain. It keeps on cycling through. You sort of talked about it with your mum and her dad.
Yep.
And what I'm witnessing inside our conversations is that continual cycle. I didn't have any respect. I didn't say once I didn't have any respect for women. I didn't understand women. And I did them very differently until I started to learn new things. That's been a really big opportunity for myself to understand, and I've had to go about learning. I feel, Luke, that you've had a very similar circumstance to that.
I definitely had to learn what I was doing. I think it was just I don't really like to blame anybody for my behaviour, to be honest, except myself.
100%.
Because we can't, I know there is science behind it all to an extent of for me to be able to be more addicted, more acceptable to mental illness, all those sort of things, but there was a point in my life where my dad was my best friend. That was probably when I was about 18, 19. That's when we started to reconnect, and we would drink 3 bottles of alcohol a night. Like 3 bottles of straight scotch. Like we were drinking a lot of fucking alcohol, and I loved that. You know what I mean? Like I loved it, and but the more I started to get to know him and understand, and I got angry at him. Like I'm like, well, like I'm young, like I sort of can do this. This is what I was sort of going through, and I'm like, but then now I've gotten to the point now where it's like, yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Listen, look, I understand we've been a little bit protective around a few bits and pieces because it's still a pretty.
Oh no, I could say whatever. I'm just trying to make it make sense in a way, but do you want me to go to like what's happening right now, or
no? I wouldn't mind understanding the way. If it's all right with you, this might hurt, but the way in which things were treated with your mum, the way in which you saw yourself, and I'm exactly the same, right?
Like what I did.
Yeah, it's the same.
So pretty much what I did, I drained probably about $10,000 out of her bank account over time. So I took all her savings, exactly what my father did when I was, 4 years old, took everything out of the house, drained her savings, so yeah, and I used to be abusive, like I would, just yell at her all the time. Everything I was always yelling, and then, recently I come to the realization, that like with the help of Scott as well, that like I've been trying to talk to her and she's not hearing me, but I'd actually abused her that much that she could only only hear me when it was all loud, and she thinks she could only talk to me loudly, but so yeah, it's pretty fucked. But yeah.
I actually, on the contrary, though, I think it's fantastic because you see it now.
Yeah, and it's like I did 11 weeks sober before, and it was just very dormant, a lot of sleeping and shit like that. But it's 4 weeks and 4 days, but now I actually understand. Like I actually like the head work's been done not to go backwards. Like because just the reflection of all that, and mainly for the sake of my mum, completely. Like she just doesn't deserve that. So yeah. And as I said, when I did come to this realization, it was about day 19. And it was day 19 because I remember how bad it was. But it was fucking hard. But yeah, it was really hard. But yeah, it had to happen.
So one of the big things inside of what's going on for you at the moment is the fact that you are actually working on the mental scars, and you're actually addressing them, which hasn't been done before. That's
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
and that's
because. Sorry, what was that?
and that's the significance, I think, that is having that generational change. Because, and I'm going to ask Martyn to jump in on this too now, if that's okay, is inside what we've been talking about within these hashtag raise a pen is actually the generational trauma that's brought on from generations before that hasn't been dealt with. And right now we're involved in this process where we're actually sitting down, taking the pain and the trauma, learning to understand it and see it from another person's perspective, the person who's actually passed on the trauma, understanding that they have experienced that themselves. And we're finding a new perspective on that and actually taking the action to respond to it, which has just been phenomenal. I know it has for you, Luke. So, Martyn, can I ask, and I know it's a tough subject because it's, especially with myself, Luke, because it's pretty raw. But Martyn, what are you saying about generational trauma inside this group and inside life? Is that my internet? Is Martyn with us? Yeah,
No, he's free.
Wow.
Are you back in?
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Wow.
Gotcha now.
Yeah, Luke keeps going in and out. Wow. Okay. Yeah, in the brotherhood, I'm really seeing it a lot. And I mean, I probably haven't seen that much around me so much recently. I think when I, started doing my personal growth work, it was people in their 40s plus, when the baggage got so heavy they were walking around with it that they thought, they needed to do something about their baggage. And probably at that age, they've already had the kids are grown up. So, of course, it's going to be passed on. So, the brotherhood is great because there's a lot of younger men coming through. Because if we can, as we've talked about, if we can get younger people to deal with their stuff so it doesn't get passed on, then things can get better. Because I believe, we're between the ages of 0 and 8 is when we form our personalities and our traits from our parents. So we have, we have their DNA, so we're going to have some of their traits. So some of us will have, worse traumas than others. I didn't have any violence or, I didn't have any sexual abuse or physical abuse or even mental abuse, except, I didn't get my needs met because my mother had mental health issues. So, we all then take that into we take it into the future with us. All those parts of us that we think are not okay, and left unchecked, of course, they just rule us. And the scary part is that we often choose a partner like the parent that we didn't get on with. Not consciously, but subconsciously. And that's from a book, Women Who Love Too Much. That was really scary, knowing that. And that's true. My first partner, bipolar, mental health issues, like my mother. So it was like, scary.
Because we go to where we're comfortable.
Yeah.
And I've found that myself.
And to feel safe or whatever, whatever we felt as a child where we were unsafe or, we want to feel safe.
Yeah.
And we stay in that comfort zone.
Yeah, well, the human nature is we move towards pleasure and away from pain because when we look into the pain, and something that I'm finding inside our meetings is that our pain is our greatest gift. When we can see it differently.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and inside these meetings, we're sitting down, and my experience continually is the fact that we sit down and we look at a situation, and there's so many sets of eyes on there, all different experiences, that we're able to open up and really look at the pain that's been there and see it through a different set of eyes.
I think sometimes also too, it's not just looking for the pleasure. I think sometimes we only know how we've been treated one way our whole life, so if that person treats us the same way, then you just accept that treatment, you know, because you feel like that's all you deserve, or you know what I mean. So yeah, like I don't think you're always looking for better. Sometimes you just you feel like you want to have what you deserve, you know.
Yeah. Well, we can only ever do anything based upon the experiences we have in life, right? So until we have new experiences, we can't possibly change. I'll never forget. I'll never forget the time I was in Scotland. I was in Oban, and I was there in a local pub. It was all locals there, and it was an interesting experience because I was listening to the stories they were telling. And it's a little wee town in Scotland that not a lot of people go travel outside of. You can tell they're all locals. And the conversations were the same sort of tales. I was there for a couple of hours. And it wasn't anything refreshed. And I was just thinking to myself after a while, how can these people think differently if they don't have new experiences? Yeah? It's like, and I'm going a little bit sideways here, but I'll share another experience that happened that really changed my life forever. I was in, when I moved to Scotland, the first time I went to a football game, I said, whoever offers to take me to a football game, whoever they follow, I'll support. And I happened to be a Rangers supporter. I went to the game, PSG versus Rangers at Ibrox. That was brilliant. I loved it, enjoyed it. Next game was Rangers versus Celtic, and I didn't understand the rivalry between the two. And I've gone in, we're drinking beers before the game, having a great time. I get up to go to the bar. I take my jacket off and I go up to the bar. Next thing you know, I'm on the bar with a pint in my throat. And I'm like, I thought I was going for money. The guy I was with turned around and said, hey, Skippy's with me. Just as well, this guy is very high up in the Ibrox support group, the Rangers support group. I had an O'Neill T-shirt on, a Catholic name in a Protestant bar. I shouldn't have walked out of there. But once they knew who I was, they ripped my shirt off me and put a Rangers jersey on me. I had an amazing, it was an amazing experience after that because I was the guy that survived that. But it just goes back to the experience for me that we only know what we know until we experience something different. So therefore, generational trauma, as I'm seeing it, is so consistent in our society that it carries a massive energy with it. And that's the thing that, for me, I want to dive into a little bit now. And I've been having a conversation with another member from the Victorian Brotherhood, who I'm hoping at some point will come on and have a conversation with us. He's had significant change in his life. And I'm not going to mention his name, but he'll know when I say that he didn't eat food for 29 years. The effort that he's now going through and the change that he's had came because of the pain from his surroundings. That he's now sitting there with his family, just trying bits and pieces. and the difference it makes to his surroundings by him being lighter and not carrying as much pain is significant. I watched it with you, Luke. When you put in the boundaries around things, and then
Can you hear that noise from my sister's room?
no, you're good.
Is it all good? All right. I was gonna go tell her off, but anyway. So,
No, you're good, mate. Don't stress at all. And so, but I saw that with you too. Once that shift came, you became lighter.
Yeah, it's I think once I stopped playing his game is when I become a lot lighter too. It's and owning it, owning that is massive, and it's I'm hoping that I can get to a point, where I want to, eventually have kids and stuff, and I will never ever be like that. You know what I mean? And then that's when the cycle's broken. But also from that pain and from that torment is a whole lot of fucking love learnt. So like the heart is even bigger, because you felt pain, and so once to be able to transform that, and I believe put that onto my children, and then they can transform that to the next dimension and the next series of life or whatever, like I think that'll be cool. I'm a true believer that things are changing. I'm a true believer in that, but like for everybody, not just myself. But yeah.
Could it be as simple? And this is, and I'm coming up with a bit of a theory. I'm throwing a pie in the sky right now, but could it be as simple as we change the energy which we carry to each other? If we take the pain of life, accept it, understand it, and then respond with love. Because for me, watching inside of all the opportunities we're currently going through, I believe we all hold scars. And if we just look at them and accept them and understand them, we can give more love. And this is just my theory too, that I feel as though we can only love as much as we've experienced pain. The pendulum swing. The more pain you've experienced, the more love you've got to give, because you can understand the other side of the coin. I'm going to ask for your opinion on that, Martyn, and you can see I'm a lunatic.
Okay.
Sorry, what was that?
So I'm going to ask for your opinion on that, and you can tell me I'm a lunatic, but I feel like that's the way it works, that once you've got your pain levels up to here and you've learned how to process them, you can deeply love the other way, that just as much.
Yeah, I mean, the pain level, I don't know whether it has to be high. I mean, look, we all have, as you said, we all have scars. Some, mine seem really small compared to, but it's all relevant. We all get scarred when we're young children. And of course, we're meaning-making machines, so we make it mean something about us, which we still do as adults. We take it into adulthood. And I mean, the pain, what happens to us doesn't cause the suffering. It's our thoughts about what happens to us. So it's only our thoughts which cause the suffering. So, but how do we learn to, I don't believe it's the events that happen to us at all. And some people, I mean, feeling whatever we're feeling is great, and we should feel it. But when bad things have happened to us, it's when we stay in it or wallow in it for months, years, or lifetimes, is when it's unhealthy. It's like people in the Holocaust, some survivors, some will just stay in that trauma the whole life. Others will come out and go on to do amazing things. So I guess there's some, very, I don't know what it is in people. Is it just a spirit? You know, it reminds me of Rosie Batty when her son was killed by his father with a cricket bat. And she went on to help other people and become Australian of the Year. So while the pain of her son's death was, you know, will never get any easier, but she did amazing things with that rather than stay stuck in the pain. So, which is what you were saying before, our pain is our greatest gift.
Yeah, it truly is. And I'm it's funny because the Rosie Batty one actually had me a little bit perplexed.
In what way?
And that's a personal opinion on that, because I didn't understand enough about it. And I started looking into it because I sat at a restaurant once and she was sitting opposite me. And it was just an interesting opportunity. Yeah, I'm gonna be careful with what I say with that. That's right, because
Yeah.
it was a really interesting opportunity, right? Because like pain is something that can hold you in a pattern for so long, and I guess that's why I'm really feeling like generational trauma is something that has a significant impact upon us as humans, and like I'm looking at, you know, talking about the Holocaust. There's two books that I've read that I'm almost finished The Happiest Man Alive, which is just brilliant. And The Tattooist of Auschwitz, right? So the difference between people who are held in that pattern of pain and those that aren't, it's simply by accepting the fact of what is, in my eyes.
Well, yes. Yeah, I mean, acceptance is always key because, you know, like the Serenity Prayer, to change the things we can and have the the wisdom. Yeah, sorry, I've forgotten. But you know, if we can change something, fine. If we can't, if we can't physically, you know, change it, then to accept it, because if we're not accepting, then we're in a place of struggle, which is like swimming upstream. You know, so we'll always be in struggle.
You need to say what is right. It's not just for people that have been through pain. You know, there's people that have been, you know, whatever you're a spoon. I call them spoon fed, but you know, raised happily all their life and stuff. But they choose to look at the world in such a positive way, right? They go throughout their life. Maybe they wake up in the morning, have a dance around, you know, make their coffee. There's people that live like that, you know what I mean? But they might have not necessarily experienced pain to get that, you know. But you know, it's what is, and I think that's the simplest thing is just accepting your position and where you want to be in society, and just and being the best at that position, you know, like I don't know, that's how I feel, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely. And you know, like there's a guy I know that's a really happy guy. He's got a lot of good things going for him. We had a conversation about how he looks at me, whom he sees had a rough start to life, and he understands my past and where I've been and what I've done, and he sees what I'm doing, and he goes, in his eyes, I'm more of a success than him because you know, he was gifted a good education, he was gifted a good way of life, and he hasn't quite taken the challenges that maybe he should have. And I said to him, I said, that's a really interesting scenario. I said, because who was it in your family that said enough's enough, I'm going to do something and work hard to allow you the riches of life as such? And we sat and we pondered that for a while. He goes, it was actually my grandfather. he worked his absolute backside off 7 days a week to make sure that his father got an education, which then got passed on to him. But the one thing that
it can be a flip of a coin, I reckon. I reckon it can be a flip of a coin.
yeah, but where I was going with that is then he then got the opportunity of work so much, he missed the kids, missed, do you know what I mean? The time wasn't there.
Yeah.
So there was no balance and probably no emotional education.
No, and
because I mean, I think without emotional education, you know, where are we? And why isn't it taught in schools? And Scott, I'm interested to know, if I may ask you a question.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst for you to, to change, to give up alcohol, to give up whatever, and work on yourself? Was there a catalyst for that?
Major pain.
Okay.
Had a business go under, lose, a lot of money.
Right.
Then I had, which I ended up in a hospital with diverticulitis, bad way. Oscar was 6 months old. Spent 6 weeks in hospital, 6 months old. What was I doing? How was I going to do this?
So the pain got too much, and then you did something about it. Yeah.
And then when it really kicked off was when I actually, Marcella had her accident, and then I really had to look at life when we lost absolutely everything, and then had to start again. And it wasn't until I was put into that much pain that I could create significant change.
Yeah.
And now I look at everything, like, and my wife, in my arms, and I thought she was dead. And then, like, there's significant moments of pain that made me think about things differently. But then I stopped drinking after, I caused carnage one night, and Marcel and Oscar picked me up. I'm like, maybe it's time to pull up, and then he goes, I started thinking like that, but it was the day that he went to the fridge and he goes, "Hey, Dad," I get home from work, comes to me with a beer. He's already knocked the top off it. Here, Dad, with a big smile on his face. And I just went backflash through all my life and all the places where alcohol had caused us a lot of drama. And in an instant, I stopped drinking. I'd already been implanted, but that moment was I actually get the choice of how he sees life now. I actually get the choice, the conscious choice to make a difference to his situation emotionally. And that's something that I really want to talk about. What do we want in life? What do we actually want in life? And last 7 months, we've all been in lockdown. We're just coming out now. And something that's been sitting with me really heavily, and I didn't expect it to hit me as hard as it did. But over the last 7 months, dolphins have come into Frankston, where I live. And it's been beautiful. We've had a pod of 30 dolphins.
Wow.
It's just been beautiful.
Yeah, I love dolphins.
Yeah, same. And it's just been absolutely stunning. Like, I'm talking 30 meters off the shore. You can swim out. Like, I don't know if I'm too scared to do that because I'll see the fin and hit myself and think it's a shark. So, but that's just being honest. But, they're out there. And then within one day, Melbourne Cup Day, people everywhere on the beach, rubbish everywhere on the beach, parked on the medium strip, parked everywhere, jet skis all day, it was horrible. I grabbed Oscar and said, "Listen, let's go for a quick fish at 8:15 at night. Go and sit down on the pier, throw a line in, go driving down there."
Caught a dolphin?
No, we couldn't even get on the pier. There was that many people down there. Cars were parked everywhere. The tension in the air was horrible. Oscar and I, he's freaking out. He goes, Dad, do these people not understand? We've just been locked down for 7 months. This could cause us to get locked down again. This is a 9-year-old kid. And I'm like, I feel the pain. I felt the pain. I'm like, started driving off. I said, we'll find someone else. He goes, no, Dad. I said, all right, mate. I said, listen, I'm going to let you lose it completely. You get to swear as much as you want and just give me one big rant about how you're feeling right now. And he lost it. And I was so proud of him because he used every F-bomb in the right time for the right thing. It went for about 5 minutes. And at the end of that, I go, oh, how does it feel? He goes, oh, actually good, Dad. I actually feel good because I was allowed to release his emotion in a safe environment.
Yeah.
And this is probably why I think about generational trauma so much at the minute. Because I never had a safe place to do that. I don't know how many people have. But at the moment, with the razor pen situation, we have a safe place to completely express our emotions. We sit, we listen, we learn from one another. You know, and like to be perfectly honest, tonight I wasn't going to do tonight. I wanted to not do tonight because I was tired, and I personally am tired of the way in which we live, where we don't listen to each other, that we don't take the time to do the things that are actually going to improve our lives. And I question, what is it we actually want? Do we want dolphins out on the water so we can see these beautiful, magnificent creatures? Or do we want to listen to jet skis go, Do we want to park respectfully and clean up our mess so our beaches and our parks are a beautiful place? Do we want to build engines for cars that don't throw oil out? At the moment in our world, we've got so many amazing things happening. I just want us to ask those questions, you know. And I think we can start with just creating a safe place to talk about our emotions.
Yeah, I mean, we can only change the world one person at a time.
Yep.
Because if we want to change somebody else, that's arrogance on our part. Because I used to want to change my ex. And then when I realized that, you know, that was my stuff. So, yes, there are a lot of people out there who don't care about the environment, but we can only do the best that we can do and fight for what we believe in. And we can change the world one person at a time. I mean, as you've just said, look at how many guys have been helped already with razor pen. And if that continues and goes viral, I mean, more, because, you know, all those people out there doing the wrong thing, they're just probably angry and, you know, kind of the attitude. And what is anger really? It's just masking sadness or something else.
But that
because as Luke said, that, you know, like his dad, not dealing with any pain.
Yeah.
So then they just become belligerent or whatever it is.
I think too. It's like, what do you want, man? Some people want to destroy. Some people want to build. Some people, it's whatever's in the soul, you know. And it's not just in the soul, you know. It also comes down to back to that generational trauma as such as well. It's how have they been parented, you know, and how you've been parented will rule majority of your life to a certain age. I think, like at the age I'm at now, anyway, with the level of my development, Like I use my P's and Q's. I'm polite. If I'm in a national park, I won't drop a cigarette, but if I'm on a normal street, I will. They're like things I live by, right? But, there's probably things I could improve, to be more aware and stuff like that. But I don't know the point I'm trying to get across is like yin and yang. That's all I can say, man. That's all I can say is like, it's just, sounds pretty bad, but, say there's rubbish at the beach, and then 20 people are going to go clean up that beach. And it's going to make them feel really fucking good. Like that's an example, but do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's just, that's why I believe in the yang thing, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm going to throw you yin and yang in a different perspective. That wasteful energy creates anger. Anger creates quite a negative energy. And one of the things that lately I've been talking about with a beautiful man who hopefully I'll have on here one day is about the positive and negative energy that we carry continually with us and we transfer to other people. For argument's sake, you get to the beach, there's rubbish everywhere. You clean it up. You're pissed off. You go home. You're carrying that in your body language, and you vent that to the next person who then is also pissed off with you, and it carries through that negative energy. Whereas if the people who didn't put the rubbish there, next day the people come, and it's a beautiful beach. And they have a good time. They're not concerned about the rubbish, and they're enjoying the dolphins, and they're enjoying the opportunity. They go home, and they speak to the people at home and go, I've had the most magnificent day. There was dolphins down in the water. The beach was spotless. People everywhere, and we're looking after each other. Sunshine and fog, Angela.
I was only using the rubbish as an example, but like
I get it.
Like if I go to the beach, I'm going to pick up my rubbish, like of course. But
I know that. I'm
just meaning like it's like there's people that love be out there to pick up the pieces. Like I want to be a youth worker, like that's gonna charge me. Like that's gonna. I know it is like because the Zooms charge me everything. That emotional stuff it charges me, like. But it's not going to inflate my ego. It's just going to make me happy, because I love having an emotional conversation with somebody.
Exactly, right? Exactly. When I first met you, Luke, you were full of anger.
Yeah, I was.
Right? We've been working on your emotions and your generational trauma.
Yeah.
You're lighter. And Martyn will testify to that. You are lighter.
Yes.
Not carrying that with you. So, and that in itself is just a beautiful thing that if we work on the generational trauma and we take it off ourselves, we no longer carry that energy. And that energy
it's like
is heavy.
I talk to my dog again. I haven't done that since I was a stoner. I started talking to my dog again. Right? Fuck. I'm being serious. I haven't done it since I was a stoner. But like that means I'm happy, you know what I mean? Like it's
100%.
I'll sing the songs and everything, you know what I mean? Like it's just it's different. It's just different,
that happy energy. And it's like I was talking about my dog at the moment, Fifi, for the last 7 months, she's had everybody at home. Just loved it, adored it. Right now, Oscar's at school. Marcel's working here. I'm busy. She hasn't got that love and attention. And it's like she's depressed. The zoos at the moment, because people aren't going to the zoos, the animals are all depressed. Seriously, they're on suicide watch. Animals. The Melbourne Zoo.
Wow.
Because they're so used to being around people and doing all these things.
Yeah.
I think it's totally. So I think it's time to sit down and ask ourselves the real deep question and look into it. What do we want? We've got an economy that we're trying to protect, that everybody's broken. You know, everyone's in debt. Some people are doing extremely well, and that's awesome. And I commend them for being able to manage that really well. That's a skill.
I think the better question is, what do we need?
Yeah. What do we want? What do we need? But it's,
Yeah.
you know, like, and this is my own personal opinion. Look at China. They realised that the world's overpopulated. They went in for the one-child policy to try and decrease the population. Are we at a level where we can actually sit here and have that conversation honestly? What are we fueling? What are we trying to get to? What are we trying to? And I'm not talking about the meaning of life. I'm just talking about what is it we want? What's going to give us the things of joy and understanding of each other? And I just want to ask that question more often, because for me, I spend a lot of time with people, learning people. And I want less and less and less and less. So I think people are beautiful. We are all these amazing gifts. We are just stunning. When we get to know each other and we get to know each other's pain, it brings that unity even closer. And at the moment, I've got an addiction. It's called #RaiseAPen.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to people. Yeah, I'm addicted to people because we share, we learn, we grow together. The Campfire Project, it's the same thing. Are we brave enough to value people more than we do anything else?
Well, I think the collective energy will change when we work on ourselves to find more peace and joy and happiness. And as Alan just wrote, I absolutely agree that, you know, when we work on ourselves, of course, then we have impact on the people around us. We don't have to want them to change. We just have to be different. That's the only thing we can do. I think the world has the pandemic in the world is really low self-esteem. So until we can, love ourselves, so I think, my belief is that we're here, just in school here, to learn to love ourselves, no matter what we've been through.
I'm starting to question that a bit, all right? And I don't mean to be. I'm questioning whether, the whole love ourselves, because do we have to love ourselves, or do we just have to accept ourselves?
Well, basically accepting ourselves, yes, is really like loving ourselves. For me, the whole shadow work that I did, I could really begin to accept myself.
Yeah.
I think I've said to you before, it's only when I can love all of me, I can love all of you. So meaning I can love all my parts, which I thought, the good things about me, the not so good things about me. When I can love all of those parts, I can begin to love all of you and all your parts.
Yep.
Because if I don't work on those parts, I'll just keep projecting them onto other people. You're an arsehole, you're a prick, you're arrogant, you're whatever, because I'm not owning that part of me. So then we just project it out.
And I'm wondering whether or not that's the whole point of generational trauma. Just projecting all of the shit out.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's
absolutely. And that's why, when last night we had guys talking about they were really angry as soon as they spoke to their father, and the father was really angry. So, they're both just doing this.
Because 100%. And that's the way I dominated the conversation with my father for years. I had all my anger and hate continually going into that. And if it wasn't for guys like Paul Purden, Alan, Jerome, and Mick Hawes challenging me to be a better person, then that would still be the scenario.
Yeah. But really, often we want our father to change because, he's the old one. He should change. Well, maybe there's something in that, but we can't change another, but we can change ourselves.
I'm going to be out on a massive limb here. I just believe that the generation to come after us is always here to teach us. Like Oscar's my greatest teacher by far. Marcel is also a phenomenal teacher for me. But because I learned from him and I understand that I don't know, I actually know less than I knew because I'm realizing the more I learn, the more I don't know. And to listen to him and accept him as he is has been phenomenal.
But you're willing to do that because you've done work on yourself. So if you were the same...
How many people are willing to listen to the kids and learn from them?
I don't have kids, but I'd say not many. Yeah. Some, but
yeah,
probably. What would you think? Look, I don't know.
I would listen to my kids. They probably learn more at school than I already know. So,
that's the way it happens, mate. Trust me, and it happens quickly.
Exactly.
But it's like I spent time at the Nepean school, and it's just had such a profound impact on me. And it's what they call the local disability school, and I call it this ability, because I go in there and you see all these kids with different opportunities, and their teachers are learning from the students how to communicate in different ways. And it's one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given, because I saw The Greatest Showman, their end-of-year production, and it was just phenomenal. The way in which non-verbal, non-mechanical, they would walk past and touch and feel the energy of each other to let each other know that they were there, so when they could do the performance, there was a transfer of energy of I'm here without any words whatsoever. And I think that's stunning. And I just, and I'm going off on a tangent, and I'm all right with that tonight. But I'm just.
But like, for example, my dad, he just never wanted to learn anything of me. It's always undermine.
Yeah.
So it has been my whole life. And the only way, if I know something and he doesn't believe me, I've got to say, I'll bet you $50. Because when I bet $50, I know I'm fucking right. I wouldn't bet $50 otherwise, you know what I mean? But he knows I'm right. He believes me. But it's just like,
well,
he
probably thinks you're smarter.
Pardon?
He probably thinks you're smarter, and then of course his wounded ego comes into play, so he doesn't want to believe it.
Yeah, just recently, we had an argument through text. I missed 2 of his phone calls, and he lost the plot.
Oh yeah.
And he was actually apparently in a bad way and needed someone to speak to. But instead of saying that, he decided to threaten me and all this other stuff, because his generation, whatever it is, they can't just say, "Hey son, I'm in a bad way. Can you call me?" But anyway, his
because
problem,
that's being vulnerable.
And he's also lost his best drinking buddy, and he even texts me, "What do you think? You're above me now?" And to be honest, yes, but it's not the point. It's not a race, but so.
But this is the whole point. Like, you changed and you said thank you to him, and it stopped.
I did at one point of that message. Yeah, I did. Yeah,
and
I think that brother took him several minutes to reply to that.
But here's the thing, right? Do we just need to say thank you to our past?
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Like I I'm a bit of a spiritualist. That's just my belief. But, like, I believe God was beside me every second of the way because, I'm not dead, still standing. But I've got, like, the best background knowledge possible to do the field of work I want to go into anyway, It's just about being smart enough to do the assignments. But, yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll get there. If not, I'll just do the basic certificate and start my own business.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the more I spend time on my own journey, the more I realise that the experience is everything. And inside our meetings, we raise a pen, and everybody feels comfortable because no man is bigger than any other man. We're all men amongst men sharing our stories. And I want to continue that. I want to keep talking about that. I want to keep sharing that because I know inside of our opportunities of sharing our pain and talking about the things that went wrong, for us growing up, it's giving us all an opportunity to stop that generational trauma in a heartbeat because we are vulnerable, we are sharing. And the one thing I want to say about that is take off. The one thing I want to say about that. Do you want to go on camera? I'm live. So my wife would swim. But she looked better than I did at that. But it's is that going to create a massive shift in our society if we can achieve that? If we start to come from love and lose that bit of weight from the pain, is that going to be the shift we need to be able to look at the questions that we need to answer?
It's happening, mate. It's happening. So
I believe so. Absolutely.
Yeah. So absolutely. We've gone over an hour, and I just it's interesting, and every time I do something that's a bit tricky and I'm not sure if it's going to go right and I haven't exactly planned it right, we stumble through it. And then we end up in a beautiful place because we start talking about it. We start working through it. Right now, we're in a beautiful place that we're all looking at each other a bit stronger and all going, okay, what more can we do? Oh, I am anyway, I think this is the life that we're all working towards. It's been messy. Things haven't served us. We've got it a little bit wrong. It's time we start working on it in a big way.
Yep.
Okay. So on that note, I just want to say thank you to you both, and I want to say thank you for lifting my energy too. Because I was flat today.
No worries.
And I didn't want to come on tonight. I've been doing a lot of things, and I've been a bit. I'm not depressed, but I've just been in a place of questioning, what do I want in life? And I want us to be the beautiful human beings that we are, and I want us to accept each other and love each other.
I feel like what you want is things to move faster than they can actually happen, Scott.
No, and I really appreciate that, Lou. You know what I actually question? Whether or not we've got the courage to take this on. I question whether or not we've got the courage to step into our uniqueness, our oneness, and walk together. I question whether or not we can stop competing and start collaborating. That's what I question.
Slowly, I think. Yeah.
So,
but I'm glad you came on tonight because I'm sure that someone will get something out of it. And as always, you brought a great topic to discuss.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope And that's the point. I keep trying to bring up topics for us to talk about because that's where the gold is, and any of these topics, I get them wrong all the time.
Yeah.
But if you know more and you want to put more into the conversations, sing out. I'm happy to keep talking about the same topic. I'm happy to keep learning. I'm happy to keep evolving because then I grow. And then I go and share it in my communities. We grow together.
Yeah.
We grow.
I think the bad news is, Scott, I'm sorry to tell you, but our work is never done. We need to keep growing. We're never going to get there unless we're the next Buddha or something. But, most of us, we're going to keep, we just have to keep growing.
Well, it looks like we got Buddha, so hurry up and sort your stuff out.
Yeah, I did.
But look, and on that, I just, thank you guys. I want to keep.
Thank you, Scott.
We together need to keep raising a pen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. And anybody watching, thank you. Life isn't pretty. Life is messy at times. But you keep working at it, it starts getting better. You got to keep working at it.
The work is worth it.
It is absolutely worth it. And find the people in your life. And just quickly, I'm going to dump this as well. Because at the moment, we're talking about a lot of different traumas and bits and pieces. A lot of people, when they have their trauma, and especially deep trauma, people don't know how to deal with deep trauma. Come to people who do. Come to people who have worked through it and have tools for it. If you're a man and you want to find a safe place to come and discuss and find opportunity in things that have happened in life, please come to the Victorian Brotherhood. Please come to the Raise a Pen, sit there and share it with us. I promise you we will hold the space that's required with love and intent to listen. Because you are beautiful. You are worth it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. On that one, guys, thank you so much to everyone watching. Next week's going to be a great topic. I've got a couple of great people coming in for leadership. And then the week after that, we'll be talking about debt. So some big topics, and I'm looking forward to sharing them with you. So leadership next week, death the week after. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next Thursday. Thanks, guys.
Bye. See ya.
So, yeah.